First off, I want to start with before we get into the main part of the program. Back in July, I was given a heads up that there was an unusual movement for me. Some of these of you who are more familiar with Amtrak have probably seen this numerous times, but um, outside of Selma, North Carolina, NS put some cars on the ground, and the Silver Star could not get by it. So they combined the Star and the Meteor. And so it was running several hours late because I don't usually get to see it in daylight. So they ran it down they ran the Meteor and the Star down the A line. Um, I got a heads up that it was coming out of Yemassee, so I'm about 10, 15 minutes from Hardeeville and could get over and see the combined Star and Meteor. Um, I know it does happen, but this is the first time I've seen the two trains combined, or any of two of the Amtrak long distance trains combined.
Did one like that all the way to Miami?
They did. Oh, I won't say that. I don't know for sure. They could have been in Jacksonville. They might have split them.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
But yeah, something happened on NS, and they could not. The inland route could not be used, so they put the two together, and here it is. This is on Depot Street or Depot Road, which is just a dirt puddles in Hardeeville. And I'm guessing this where the ACL station probably was located decades ago. I've been over there a few times with no foliage, and I have not seen anywhere where there's even remains of a foundation. So, anyhow, this is just, I don't know, half hour outside of Savannah. And then the main program tonight is the NRHS Spring Conference was held in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'd never been to Cedar Rapids. I knew it was fairly close to Mason City. Mason City had these electric locomotives I know you've heard a little bit about. And I decided, well, I'd go out and see them and then do the conference. A point of interest may be that Mike Uhas and Eric Fogg put this conference together for us and all the activities. So that could be why Tony appointed them to replace John Goodman after John retired, is they did such a good job at the conference. So don't go backwards, go forwards. Okay. Anyway, I went out to Iowa. Um, you didn't know that Iowa had a big frying pan, did you? Well, here it is. A little bit of trivia. Um, it's fairly new. It's not ancient, but it's in a little town that you blink and you miss it. Um, in between Cedar Rapids and Mason City. I saw the sign outside the on the highway. It said, "See Iowa's largest frying pan." So we took a mile detour and went to see it. That's your trivia for today. Um, Iowa traction. Many of you may have seen it before. I had never. So I wanted to make sure that if I was within a 2 hour drive, I would get up to see it. So I did.
Oh, that must be something new.
They do have old equipment as well and derelict equipment like every railroad. Now, I was told to get there real early in the morning, and they might be operating. They do operate every day, but they just shut down and take the van back to the shop and go home when they're done with their work for the day, wherever the locomotives are left. They just put them out of the way, move them out to a safe spot to park and come back the next day to do more. And this is at one of the ADM facilities. This one I could get pretty close to. But I was also dodging grain trucks moving in and out. And across the street, the other one was parked. I had remembered that from past programs I had seen about the Iowa attraction that they basically run right along one road, a main road between several towns. So it was not hard to find. Just find the road and either go right or left and you find the equipment. Oh,
Were those commercially produced locomotives or were they built in-house?
I believe they're commercially produced. I don't know who did that. Somebody who's more familiar with the equipment up there might be able to answer that if anybody is online to tell me.
A Baldwin, General Electric, I want to say Ingersoll Rand maybe. Two of those units have a connection to, well, one of those units is ex-Washington and Old Dominion, but you didn't photograph one of them. And there's another one that came from Youngstown. So they're from all over, but they're generally of the same type, and they have a Baldwin history, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, these are the three that I saw out in public view.
In the chat, we also got a confirmation that it's Baldwin Westinghouse, you know?
Oh, okay, cool. And then a UP line that their interchange partner does go through town, through Mason City. I thought this was kind of interesting that somewhere along the line they had a little bit of a mishap and hadn't cleared it up yet. And over in Clear Lake, Iowa, which is one end of the west end of the line, this is a restored Milwaukee Road depot. To the right, about 30 yards, is the abandoned right of way, which is now a rail trail. So there was I don't know if it still is, a little museum here in Clear Lake with some equipment. And they have the depot on their property. So for those who collect depot pictures and track them down, and then tell Bill that they've seen them in whatever month and year, so he can update the fact that they're still there. For the Railroad Station Historical Society guys. And I see Ted's on as well.
So the track is right in front of that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, the tracks that were in front of it are actually a loop track for that little museum that doesn't seem to operate anymore. The actual location was probably about 30 yards away on the main line, which is now the rail trail. Then during the midday of the meeting, and the day before, we drove down into Cedar Rapids and found some equipment at Cargill. But there's an industry everywhere in town, mostly agricultural related. New and old equipment. And then we found our way to the main line. And this is the East-West Union Pacific main line. Of course, you wouldn't know it by the power that I saw the first day.
So is that rail serve locomotive something that's rented?
Yeah. Cargill, I'm sure hires a switching company to run their yard. And so it wasn't didn't belong to Cargill proper. I'm sure it's leased or they've hired a company to run the switching. And then big industry in Cedar Rapids is Quaker Oats. I couldn't get out of there without taking a picture of this. And they do get service. I have a huge yard on the other side off to the right. And local inhabitants. And this is typical of, you move outside of town a little bit, and this is typical of the topography and the structures. Fields, fields, and more fields. More of the UP Maine. There's a yard just the southwestern of town where they do crew changes for the freight. And they have a short line that runs in and out of there. They have all the stuff that they interchange with Cargill all over town. And I hadn't seen these trailers before, so it's nice to see stuff that's different from what we see in the East. And then, of course, the DPUs. Looking a little grungy. Then the big activity, well, at a conference, we have the meetings all day from morning with the reports, then the advisory council, then break for lunch, and then back to the board of directors. But usually we also try to do something interesting, rail related, a ride, a visit, something that more than just sit all day in a dusty room and try to stay awake listening to meetings. So Mike and Eric arranged with Iowa Interstate to visit their offices, and they have brand new corporate offices in a building in downtown Cedar Rapids. We got a chance to spend the whole day with them for the most part. But first off, we visited their corporate boardroom. And Henry Posner, who's president, owner, super chair, you name it, he came and visited us. You'd never know that he owned the railroad by talking to him. Very, very nice person, very, very friendly, down to earth, but knowledgeable.
Did Iowa Interstate take over the Rock Island?
Yes, they did.
Okay,
Yep.
I was in a little town in southern Illinois earlier this past week, and Iowa Interstate is big presence there. Bureau, Illinois, Bureau Junction. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep. And this is a Rock Island line that we were visiting and on. Had to take the pink hat for the ladies in the house, and they're not only the board room in the back behind the Iowa Interstate sign in the way back, but they have a little cafeteria here for the employees, and they gave us coffee, water, snacks. They were very, very, very friendly. The station signs are from some of the stations that they are and CP points that they've changed over on the Rock Island. This is more corporate. And the dispatcher's office. If I remember correctly, I don't remember, Joe, you were out there. Did they did they say like 230 some odd employees, I believe, on this section of the Iowa Interstate? And if I remember correctly, it's a dark territory, so they have to call for permission everywhere. But this is the basic dispatch. So they were real welcoming to us. Then we jumped in the bus and went over to South Amana, Iowa, where they've just completed a huge new locomotive facility to handle all the brand new locomotives that they've gotten in. Um, they've got some real nice big 6-axle jobs that they move in here. We were able, after a safety briefing, we were able to walk through the entire shop. They stopped any work for the day, or at least while we were there, so that we wouldn't trip over wires or hoses or fall in any pits or anything. And looks like they even scraped most of the grease off the floor.
That crane looks like it handled quite a weight.
Oh yeah. This was neat. We got to go walk up on the above the track there, right down alongside the locomotive that they're working on. And they tear them down pretty good here. Now, if any of you as an electrician, you can figure out what they're doing, but I have no clue. But the shop's, as spotless as a shop can be, it's pretty clean. And then outside in the yard, a bunch of stuff. These are the two units that powered our train, which was the business train. They had some others scattered around the property. But they built the shop specifically to handle these new locomotives. And the business train was a 3-car train. The parlor car in the dining room, an Expensi car, which is a table car. They've changed it to a table car. So they had 2 table cars and the parlor car.
What's the origin of that observation card? Do you know?
I don't know. And then one thing that I'm not used to seeing, but in the inner sanctums of the car shop, the locomotive shop rather, on the men's room door was this sign. So it reminded me that I'm in the Midwest, although they've had a bunch of tornadoes down south here now, thanks to the hurricane. So this is no longer foreign territory, but yeah, it was just surprising to see the signs right on the door. This is the place to go for when one comes. So we got on and we rode over to Iowa City, where we got word that a freight was coming west, and could we clear up to let them go through? So they said, sure, no problem. We'll stop the train. You can all get off, take pictures. So we did. But this is the full business train. And then the passing of the freight. Now this is what was on the head end. One of the reasons also that we stopped here is that they wanted to show off their, they do have a heritage unit, and it was on the tail end of the train. Then crossing the Mississippi at Davenport over to Moline, I think it is, if I remember correctly, in Illinois, and then on to Silvis from here. But this is the Mississippi lock system. Then we pulled up to Silvis, Illinois, where they have their car shops and a big yard in Silvis. So we got to walk through their shop. At this point, we left the train and our bus met us and took us to the next location that we were to visit. And then from there, we did not take the train back to Cedar Rapids. We took a bus back. But once again, they cleared all the workers out, made sure the floors were clear of any obstruction, and let us walk through the car shop. And I'm used to seeing little Unimogs. This was a pretty neat little piece of equipment they have to move cars around. And then the highlight of the day, although riding the business train and getting lunch on board and being served by Iowa Interstate was great, but just prior to, well, over the last year or so, this museum has become museum to be, has become quite well known for all the equipment that UP donated. And we got a chance to go in. If you go knocking on the door, chances are you can't get in right now unless you have special permission. But they've started to open up for special days and special events now, so they're making it more public. But at this point, most of the time you just can't go walking up to the knock on the door and say, "Can I come in?" As they are doing restoration work inside here. But go ahead.
936 a steam, or is that something else?
6936. No, that's a DDA 40. It's one of the big UP big diesels. But let's see, big shops. Lots of equipment were given to the museum or the railroading heritage. You can see the breadth of equipment here. Some of the UP extra cars that they're not using on the business train anymore are here. The steamer is the Challenger, and then the DDA 40 6936 is way in the back. This one you may have, this is a Santa Fe. Was just donated to them a few years ago. It's in perfect working order. They're just cosmetically restoring it, the paint job wise, to a Santa Fe. That's been, I forget the numbers, 530 something, I think. But that's been in the news on Facebook anyway recently. Is getting a total restoration back to as bought. They do their own painting here, and they do contract work. They were actually painting some CPKC cars. Then just massive shops. On the left is the Challenger. On the right is the 5511, which is a 210-2. That's the one Alex was asking me about way at the beginning tonight. That was also donated by UP and moved in the hospital train when everything came over here. Now this is, I don't remember if it's July or June, but there was a big article in Trains Magazine all about this location and all the work that they're doing.
This 5511, is it going to require a lot of work or more than the 3985, or you know?
I don't know enough about the mechanical end of it, but it looks in better shape than the Challenger. But apparently the Challenger is going to come out first, unless they change their mind or find some things that they don't expect to see. But I'd love to see this one under steam. It's a really sharp looking locomotive, and I kind of like this tender style.
I guess the last it ran was regular service days. It wasn't ever used in an excursion, I guess, was it?
I don't believe so. No, they just put it in the back corner of the shop in Cheyenne and said, "We'll see you later." Now you can see some of the metal work that needs to be done on the cab here, the 3985, over on the right-hand side. And this is the 3985. Doesn't look like it's close to coming back online, does it? But for the massive size that it is, even though it's not as big as the 4014, it's still inside the shop here. It doesn't look as big. And they inherited a bunch of equipment as well. And aside from UP, they have some other stuff here. The group that runs the Milwaukee Road 261 is actually the overseer of the shops here. And so some of their equipment is down here for work. And this is 4014's actual tender. If you recall, they took the Challenger's tender because it was closer to the point where they could retrofit it to go out online with the 4014. And one of the promises that they extracted for donating the equipment is that as soon as possible, the 4014's original tender will be restored and returned to Cheyenne. So this is it. But it's not running on biodiesel. And then one of the Chinese steamers from the is here, one of the Iowa Interstate locomotives. Now, I know one was just brought back to Boone, but I don't remember if this is the one or if it was the other one. And they do a lot of their own in-house work. They have a lot of equipment here, so they can do a lot of things in-house and not have to farm it out. And that's the still portion of my show. It shows you a little bit about what you can do, what we do at conferences. And anybody is welcome to come to a conference. You don't have to go to the meeting. So although it's nice to see what goes on with our organization, but certainly the trips and the activities are open to all members of the NRHS. And we did have this past weekend, the fall conference in Wilmington, Delaware, and we had a wonderful ride on the new Woodstown Central. We had plenty of seats still available that you could have come up for. We got to ride on the Woodstown Central, several photo ops, and then we got to went to Pure Land Industrial Park in Bridgeport, New Jersey, and wander through the SMS rail line shops with all the Baldwins and the one steamer that is almost ready to go. And they also took us for a ride. We had a coach and a Baldwin on either end, and we rode through some of the Pure Land Industrial Park property. So for those of you who like rare mileage, we got some pretty rare mileage. It was a good day. The sun was good. The temperature was not too hot. And Steve Barry, Mike Burkhart, and the Wilmington chapter put on a real good day for us. So now the next portion of my show here is just a little montage set to music of some stuff that I've done recently and included a little bit of older stuff. And if I remember to click the share sound box, which I believe I did. You get a little musical entertainment with pictures to go along with it. The lead image here is in Yemassee, South Carolina. This is the Palmetto northbound in the morning, coming out of Savannah. Yemassee is the first stop. I try, if I get out rail fanning early enough in the morning, I'll usually go through Dunkin' Donuts, drive up to Yemassee, and I know what time this one comes through. Quite often there's a southbound freight. Sometimes I get a north and a southbound freight here. It's not bad. It's a nice little location. So we'll see if this works.
Doug, just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I heard that fine. Somebody suggested that Mike B in the comments said maybe stop sharing and reshare. That might help the video, but as I say, I
Well,
heard
it's
music.
not.
So.
It's not a video, but
Oh, okay.
But I have stopped it, and I will start it again.
Okay.
All right. It's actually it's a PowerPoint. It's not video, so it just flips through
Okay, thanks.
with music in the background. So we're ready to go, you think?
I think so. Give it a shot.
All right.